This fly fools fish because of how it moves, not just how it looks. Welcome back, McFly subscribers. Today we're continuing the crayfish fly series with the Near Nuff Crawdad. This fly looks awesome, and once you see it moving in the water, it will make a lot of sense why it works so well. Now, it can be a little tricky to tie it first, but I'll walk you through it step by step and make it a lot easier. This is McFly Angler.
Starts now.
Okay, let's start tying. Place a hook securely in your vise. For hook, I'm using Risen's Streamer 200 in size 6. It's a 4x long hook that has an extra heavy wire, great for pulling in those big bass. We will also need to pair this with some dumbbell eyes. Lead is the best choice because we need that extra weight, and these are the medium size, which are about 4mm. These are painted black, but you can use non-painted or whatever color you want. We will also need some thread, and I'm using Viva 6/0 in brown, which is a round thread, really strong for its diameter. By the way, I snagged you guys a deal with Vivas, and you can even get a free bobbin holder. More on that later in the video. Okay, let's start our thread right behind the hook eye, and snip or snap off the waist. Then bring your thread down to about 1/3 of the way down the hook shank, then back up and down a few more times to build a thread base. End with your thread in the middle of your thread base, and this will give us the perfect position to add the dumbbells. To attach the dumbbells, we will want to make X-wraps and under wraps. Notice we're tying them about 2 hook eye lengths back from the hook eye, because we need that extra room later in the tie. Okay, once these are tied in securely, bring your thread down into the hook bend, and then back up to the start of the hook bend. Okay, let's adjust the dumbbells so that they're directly on top of the hook, and then I like to cement them in with this Solarez ultra thin resin. Unlike super glue, this stuff cures instantly with a UV light, so you can continue tying right away instead of waiting for this to dry. Now we need some crystal flash, and today I'm using gold, but use whatever color you want. If you cut out a corner in your package here, you can just select one strand and cut it free, without having to take the entire hank out of the wrapper. Fold this in half, and then tie it in on top of the hook and down into the bend slightly. This is why we left a thread base a bit into the hook bend, so we can tie these angled down, which will be up when the fly is swimming. Okay, once tied in, make a thread bump right behind the flash and bring your thread up a few wraps. The original pattern called for span flex, and these bug legs are basically the same thing, and I'm using black. And you can do the same trick with this package. Just grab one leg and then fold it in half. Tie it in, but let's separate the strands so that they're on either side of the hook. And when you tie up into the thread bump, it will flare those legs out. Then bring your thread back a few wraps once again. Now it's probably a good idea to cut the material to length now. I like these flash antennae to be about 2 hook shank lengths, and the legs to be a little bit shorter than the flash. And now for another type of leg. These crazy legs are basically just silicone legs, but these are two-tone, a root beer base with orange tips. Pull one leg from the hank and fold it in half, and then tie it in the same way as the span flex on either side of the hook. Cut off the waist, and clean up that section. Then I like to cut the silicone legs to be slightly shorter than the span flex legs. Now for some eyes. You can buy them, but they aren't that hard to make yourself. And I recently made a shorts video on how to do these if you're interested. I will link that below. We will tie one eye in on the side here, so it's angled down slightly. And again, that will be up when the fly is swimming. And if you make 4 wraps, then you can check the eye and either shorten or lengthen it. Then when you're happy with the length, make quite a few more tight wraps to lock it into place, and then turn the fly around and tie the other eye in on the other side. By the way, the mono has a curve to it since it came off of a spool, and utilizing that curve so that the eye splays outwards is beneficial. Make sure the eyes are of equal length and position, and adjust if need be. Then tighten both down with quite a few very tight wraps. Then bring your thread down about halfway, cut off one of the mono pieces, and then cut the other off a little longer. Clean up those wraps and bring your thread back up to the start of the hook bend. And now for some rabbit strips, and this one is in crawfish orange. Use whatever color you want though. We want to rip off about this much from the hide, and usually this rips off fine, but the hide came with this one, so I'm going to have to cut off the hide. Measure this tuft of fur so the tips extend to about the mono eyes, and then tie this in at that measurement with a couple loose wraps. Then use your thumb to spread this tuft around on the hook, and make another couple tight wraps to hold it into place. Now I noticed here that the fur was a bit too long, so I'm going to shorten it slightly. Pull up the butt ends and clip them off, and then clean up that section and turn the fly around. Cut off another piece and tie this in the same length, split between the hook bend. Use your thumb to splay this one out as well, and then tie it in tight, cut off the waist, and clean up that area. Then bring your thread back up to right behind the material, and now we need some dubbing. And you could use anything here really. However, I like to blend my own dubbing. I will use this brown hairline as a base, then mix in some Antron for color, and a little Diamond Bright for some flash. If you're going to blend your own, grab a big pinch of the base, and then some of the accent dubbing, and then separate with your fingers and bring back together many times to mix. Now for the Diamond Bright, and do the same thing, mixing together in your fingers. Blending my own like this gives me a more mottled look, but you could use a single dubbing also if you choose. And this much should tie 2 of these flies. Okay, let's dub this onto our thread. Then wind this on right behind the previous materials, forming a little dubbing ball. End with your thread right behind that ball, and now we need some feathers for claws. Now here I have a full pheasant pelt, which have some beautiful feathers in them. Here are 2 I think could work for this fly, and I got them from right about here. Now you could use any of these feathers for it though. Alternatively, you could also use some other types of soft hackle, like this whiting hen saddle. But whatever feathers you choose, align the tips, and then strip off the fuzzy fibers at the base of both feathers. Now I find this to be too wide for this size fly, so I'm going to taper the feathers like so. Of course, if you use more of a narrow feather, this might not be needed. While not part of the original pattern, I'm going to cut out a small notch at the end of the feathers, which to me makes it look more like claws. Okay, let's tie this in so the claws are extending slightly past the mono eyes with 2 loose wraps. Then we can adjust the claws so they're positioned slightly up rather than directly on the side. I'd say around the 10 o'clock mark, if that makes sense. Then tie up onto the dubbing ball, which will help splay this out more. Okay, let's tie the other feather in on the other side, trying to get it positioned the same angle and size as the previous claw. Make a couple more tight wraps up onto the claws and into the dubbing ball to help keep those splayed outward. When you're happy with your position, then bring your thread down about halfway and cut off the stems staggered like we did with the mono. Clean up the area with some wraps and bring your thread back up to just behind the claws. Now we need a soft hackle feather, and that whiting hen saddle will work great. Pull off a larger feather like this, and I like these because they have some extra length to them that most soft hackles do not. Strip off some of the fuzzies, but leave a little this time. Then tie this in at the back of the fly on the bare stem and end with your thread right behind the feather. Now for more of that dubbing. Let's dub on a fairly thick and long noodle. Then wrap this under the feather a bit and then down the hook shank until we reach the dumbbell eyes. We can add more if we need, but we want this to be heavily tapered, with it being obviously thicker up by the claws and narrowing as we get down to the dumbbells. Now grab the feather with some hackle pliers and hackle your fly with it. Make 1 full turn up near the claws, and then start making wide, open spiral wraps down the hook shank until you reach the dumbbells. Then capture the feather and cut off the waist. Pull back all the feathers and make a few more wraps to hold them down tight, and then brush the feather out so it releases any trapped and connected fibers. Now for more of that dubbing, and this time we need a fairly thin and tight noodle, but we do need to keep it quite long. Then we will wrap behind the eyes a few times, and then crisscross over the eyes and under them as well, forming X wraps to hide all your thread wraps. Then end with your thread right behind the hook eye, and grab 1 more tuft of that rabbit fur and tie in a little tail angling rearward. Make a few more tight wraps to hold it down tight, and wrap under the tag end to lift it up slightly. Cut off the waist close, and clean up that area with some wraps, and now you can whip finish the fly. Then I use more of that Solarez Ultra Thin resin to cement the whip finish, so this fly stays durable. And this fly does take a little time to tie, so it's very important to make sure it's durable, as we don't want it coming apart on us. Now you could fish this just how it is, however the original pattern calls for clipping off the top portion of the hackle so there is only hackle sticking out the bottom, which will look like little legs. In fact, I think the original tire even cut the bottom legs slightly shorter as well, maybe half the length, but I personally like to leave them long. Then brush the fly out once again, and there we have it, the finished Near Nuff Crayfish. While this fly does have quite a few steps, and those claws aren't the easiest to tie in, I do believe after you practice it a few times, it can become very quick and rather easy to tie. I mean, not the fastest crayfish ever, but still not too bad. And to be honest, the added difficulty is very much worth it. This fly looks amazing in the water, and really does get the bass to strike. When it sits on the bottom, the dumbbell eyes keep that fly hook point up, and then the hackle actually supports the fly, so the claws and front stay lifted up, looking kind of like a crayfish in a defensive stance. Oh, and I almost forgot one step. We need some orange or other bright colored fingernail polish. We will use this to color the tips of the claws. Now, if you aren't cutting the notch into the claws like I did, you could just paint the tip of the feather in one spot. But I like to paint it in 2 at each claw tip. This is an important step because according to the original tire, he noticed crayfish have little bright colors at the end of their claws, and this helps attract little fish to them to grab. And I also believe this adds a hot spot, which helps it to be noticeable to bass as well. Honestly though, this could work for more than just bass. I totally see trout going after it as well, and pretty much anything that eats crayfish, including even carp and catfish, could eat this fly. So what do you all think? Will this be a fly that you will keep in rotation in your fly boxes? It will be in mine for sure. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you already fished this pattern, I'm sure everyone would love to hear about some of your fish stories with this fly. Alright, well I am now 3 patterns into this month's crayfish fly series. I started off the series with the easiest crayfish you will ever tie, something I simply call the simple crayfish. Then I tied up a small baby or nymph crayfish on a jig hook, and this pattern is deadly for the spring and early summer after the crayfish have hatched, and fish are keying in on these easy and protein-packed meals. And of course now this Near Nuff Crayfish. Stay tuned as next week I will be tying up the Crawdad for you all. This is a crayfish fly like no other, and it will be a fly that you do not want to miss. So make sure you're subscribed and click that bell notification so you don't miss any future videos like this Crawdad. By the way, those fly boxes you saw earlier, I do sell them. They're double-sided with plenty of room even for bigger streamers. They've got a strong magnetic clasp that snaps shut when you drop them, which is really nice, and they're made entirely of foam so they float. This means if you drop them in the water, you're not losing your whole box. I've also got some other fly boxes and hats available as well, and every purchase helps support this channel so I can keep making videos like this. I'll have a link to my Amazon storefront down in the description section if you want to go check them out. And as promised, here's that Vivas deal. Their VIP program is $99, which gets you 10% off everything, a $120 gift card, and a free shirt. And if you use my link below, they'll throw in a bobbin holder as well. Or if you don't want that VIP, you can still get 10% off just by clicking that link. Also, check out my sponsor, Risen Fly. They made the hooks I use today, but they also make some awesome fly rods and other gear at amazing prices. They're offering you all 15% off your first order, so just use that code McFly at checkout to get that discount. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate you guys. If you liked it, click the like button and share it with all your fishing buddies. I will see you on the next video. Now you go catch some fish.